Hi everyone, welcome into this week's my weekly CBS fix. This week's Parshas Lech Lecha. Just to fast forward a little bit, Avram is told by Hashem, Avram our forefather is told by Hashem to go out of his land and go down to the land that he will show him. He ends up sending him down to Egypt because there was a famine, and in Egypt Sarah was taken in captivity. Sarah was Abraham's wife, and eventually they are sent off with great wealth from the king of Egypt. The king of Egypt ladens them down with great wealth. And at that point, there was so much flock that Abraham and his nephew Lot had to split up. There was not enough pasture for all their flock, and therefore they split up. Now, there developed an argument between the shepherds of Lot and the shepherds of Avraham. And the shepherds of Avram have been telling Lot that they were grazing in areas that was forbidden for them to graze. It was not their property, it was not their land, and therefore they were stealing. And Avram eventually pulls Lot aside and says, listen, let there not be any quarrels between us. Let's separate. You go to the left and I'll go to the right, or I'll go to the I'll go to the left and you go to the right. Now, the question I want to share with you is, Avram didn't want there to be any quarreling. So why couldn't he figure out a different way how to settle their dispute? Either tell Lot that he's wrong, he and his people are wrong. They made an irrational rationalization for why they were allowed to graze in forbidden property, or figure out another way. Why did it seem that Avram Avinu at this point knew that he had to split up with his nephew Lot? And it could be that Avram Avinu, even though he loved peace, and the Torah loves peace, and the Torah pursues peace, and Avram certainly pursued peace, nevertheless, just being good with somebody, yeah, we're good, we tolerate each other, that's not real peace. Like the bumper sticker, you ever see the bumper sticker that says coexist? Let's just all coexist. That means let us just all be however we want to be, with nobody messing into other people's lives. That's not peace. Peace comes from, in Hebrew, is the word shalom, which comes from the word shalom, which means complete. We're together. There's a unity over here. It's not that we're just a bunch of individuals. There has to be a unity. And Avram knew that something was rotten to the core with Lot that was irreparable. Lot, once he got wealth, he became a different person. And Avram saw that there was no way that he can patch this up. And his wealth and his lust for continued wealth was just going to send him in the wrong direction. Avram knew that he couldn't have an effect of it anymore. Meaning, intrinsically, they were diametrically opposed already. They did not share the same goals. They did not share the same ideas. And therefore, Avram knew that it was time for him to part ways. And what I want to share with you then is the following. There are certain loved ones that we may get into a fight with, whether it's our parents, whether it's our children, whether it's even husband and wives. Husband and wives, they certainly fight. But it does not mean that you don't love each other. It does not mean that there is no unity. It simply means there's a fight. And a fight is like a little crack in a foundation. And you get over the fight, and you're refilling in that crack, and your foundation is good. The problem is when you realize that you don't connect anymore on a much deeper level. Peace between husband and wife, they can fight and they can still have a great marriage, because their ideals and their goals for their marriage, that's still one of the same. So they happen to have he said he didn't like the food and she took offense to it. That's certainly people shouldn't fight. But that's not that doesn't break anything. That shouldn't deter any relationship. You're friends, or you are husband and wife, or you're still father and son, because you guys have a deeper connection. Your deeper connection is because you still share the same goals. You're still at one towards serving Hashem, and anything that you have in life, Hashem is still the glue. Your differences are on a surface level, and while they are certainly not, we don't certainly try to hope that people have these type of fights, they're definitely not a deal breaker. You are still have shalom. You still intrinsically could make up. Avram Avinu knew that he could not make up with Lot because there was something rotten to the core within, and they shared different ideals. But if your husband and your wife, or your father and your mother, or whoever you may be at odds with, or your best friends, if you realize you're still connected towards the same goals, and you still want to grow from each other, and you still have the same goals and ideals and ways of serving Hashem together, then know that that is peace. You are still at peace. You are still complete, and you just have to figure out how to fill in tiny little cracks. Just a little advice for the important relationships in your life. Have a great, great Shabbos. Thank you for listening.